taking a relaxing journey to scenic Scrapnik Island, where busted up and old badniks go to slowly rust away. Maybe you'll salvage some parts. Maybe you'll be the parts to be salvaged. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. Yes! It's Scrapnik Island by IDW, the series no one knew that they needed, but is glad to have nonetheless. Written by Daniel Barnes, who I've long since been following on Twitter, but suddenly he's doing Sonic stuff ever since the annual, and I'm happy to see it. Always good to see someone who goes from fan to being a part of the fandom and franchise itself. And to give the guy his very own book? Yes, please. The Sonic comics are showing no signs of slowing down, with this newest installment hopefully being yet another feather in the cap of this fun and fantastic series. So join me, won't you, as I check out Sonic the Hedgehog, Scrapnik Island, won't you? Alright, issue number 1. Cover art by Natalie Fordrain, who, if you can't tell by the thumbnails I usually use for most of my Sonic reactions, I love her artwork. Been following on her on Twitter since I could. Definitely check her stuff out if you haven't. It's always the most fun, creative, and interesting layout. I mean, just look at this. The way you have the crab claw coming up and it's just right in front of the moon and everything. It's just so aesthetically pleasing. And the fact that she's on colors too. Yes, please. So we have story by Daniel Barnes, art by Jack Lawrence, who honestly has been really great when it comes to artwork. A style very similar to Tracy Yardley, but not as angular as Yardley can get sometimes. A little bit more smoother edges. And colors, of course, by Natalie Fordrain. Letters by Sean Lee, of course. Editors Riley Farmer and David Marriott. Lego? Ooh, one dark and stormy night. Far out at sea, we pick up with Sonic and Tails, doing their best to weather the storm. As Sonic shields his eyes, he says, "Man, this storm is crazy." Tails concurs, saying, "Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. We need to find somewhere to land soon before it rips the whole plane apart." Sonic spots something in the distance, saying, "Hey, check it out." Whoa. Cool. Sonic says, "Is that the Death Egg?" And we see the Death Egg, where, you know how it's a whole head, half of it's just cut right through. It's so ominous looking. And hell, Natalie Fordrain's colors for this just make everything ominous looking too. This fascinating green tinge is wild. Tails says, "Whoa, yeah, looks like the remains of the old one." Sonic questions, "What's it doing way out here?" I mean, it had to land somewhere. Tails states, "I don't know, but if I can land on it, we can use it to ride out this storm." But before he can finish his sentence, lightning strikes one of the wings of the tornado. Thankfully not the wing that Sonic was directly on, but naturally the wings catch fire and they go plummeting out of the sky. Tails struggles against the controls, telling Sonic, I've lost control. We're going down. Hang on, Sonic." Tails tries desperately to gain his bearings as the tornado spins further and further out of control towards the ground. Ooh, dang. Next thing you know, Sonic's waking up with a mean headache. And as he looks around, he sees nothing but darkness and broken down old Badnik. As he gets up off of the table that he was sitting on, he speaks into the darkness. Hello, Tails?" And as Sonic hops down off of the table, oh jeez, what the heck? One of his shoes is encased in a metallic boot. As Sonic screams out in pain, he must have injured his foot in the crash. There's a lot of that going on if you've read the aftermath of issue 50 of the main series. Sonic peeks at the metallic brace he has on his foot, but then he hears a weird beeping sound coming from a nearby table. It's the Miles Electric. I think so, anyway. As Sonic picks it up, he questions Tails' computer gizmo. He never just leaves it lying around like this. And as Sonic makes his way for the doorway, he calls out, "Tails, you better be okay." Not noticing the Badnik rising and walking behind him, Sonic makes his way down the corridor, using the Miles Electric's flashlight setting, so convenient, to make his way through. He thinks to himself, "Yeesh, I can't believe this used to be Eggman's most powerful weapon. Place is a total dump now. I must have blacked out after we crashed." And as he makes his way further down, he doesn't notice a strange security-like camera eye light up behind him. An unknown figure that seems to look like an E-Series robot monitors Sonic as he calls out, "Tails, where are you, little bro? Oh, Mr. Prower." There, E-Series robot. Sonic peeks his head through into a room with a weird glow coming from it. He questions, "You in here, buddy?" But he sees inside a capsule, a sunflower similar to the ones from Sonic's CD. Sonic is puzzled. Huh? A sunflower? Weird. But then suddenly he hears a weird screeching noise coming back from inside the corridor. Sonic turns and questions, What's that? And as he goes walking off, he questions, "That you, Tails?" And as Sonic exits, something lights up in the shadows of the same room he was just in. This is so ominous. I love it. Love the use of shadows in all of this. Whoa! Sonic enters a massive hangar, and there he sees it as he says, "Whoa, the egg carrier? Yeah, it's dilapidated and busted to heck. Yeah, is this the egg carrier that was left floating in the ocean? Because the second egg carrier, Eggman took up against Chaos, and that got utterly destroyed. But this might have been the one that was still floating in the ocean, where Amy ended up fighting against Zero that one time." Jeez. Sonic says to himself, "Wow, this whole place is like a museum of Egghead's past butt kickings." And then suddenly something goes scurrying around in the shadows, making a screech sound, which startles Sonic. And as he flashes of the light into the darkness, he questions, "Who's there?" He sees a Coconut's Badnik making his way out of the shadows into the light. Sonic feels a wave of relief as he says, "Oh, it's just some old Badnik. Hey there, little guy." But the Badnik's lower half is a friggin' caterpillar, which utterly shocks and disturbs Sonic as he looks around, seeing various Badniks were a mismatch of one or two different ones, all coming out around him from the various cracks and crevices of the hangar. Sonic thinks to himself as he slowly backs away from all the creepy bots, "Maybe I didn't wake up from that crash. Maybe this is all just some crazy nightmare." But then he suddenly backs into something large, metallic, and covered in a cloak. Dude! It's Mecha Sonic, looming over Sonic, its mono eye glowing in the darkness. See, this kind of puts something must have changed in terms of how Sega does things again. Because with Ian previously, Ian Flynn, there was always a restriction on what he could do because he wasn't able to make the connection of the past and the present. You know, classic stuff stayed classic, present or modern Sonic stayed modern. But Sonic has a flashback to Mecha Sonic from back in the day, you know? But Ian has gone on record several times saying some things that were approved for other writers were never approved for him when he tried it out. So another thing that really shows that Sega is always kind of changing and shifting its mind about what it allows to happen in the comics. But as Sonic is taken off guard by Mecha Sonic's presence, he readies himself for battle, revving up them feet, saying, "Alright, this place's novelty has officially worn off." But before he can attack, he's overwhelmed by a severe pain in his left foot. He thinks to himself, "Not good. I must have busted my ankle in the plane crash." Hence the metal boot. But Mecha Sonic hasn't moved. Not yet. So before anything can happen, Sonic spin dashes his way past Mecha Sonic and out the door, essentially hobbling his way down the corridor, saying "ow, ow, ow" the entire time, thinking to himself, "This sucks. I can barely run." And as he looks behind him, he sees Mecha Sonic commanding the mismatched Badniks to give chase as Sonic thinks to himself, "Terrific. I just gotta find Tails and get the heck out of here." We then see Mecha Sonic stalking his way into a nearby hangar filled with caterpillar heads and motobug shells and a few animal containment capsules. And as Mechasonic makes his way past the capsules, we see Sonic having hidden in one of them. As he sees Mechasonic go, Sonic says to himself, "Phew, Sonic the Hedgehog, hiding from robots. I'm sure glad Nux isn't here to see the..." Sonic suddenly notices Mechasonic looming as he peeks his way into the capsule that Sonic is hiding, its yellow glowing eye illuminating Sonic's frightened face. Seriously, the expressions for Sonic in this are so fantastic. Mechasonic then slams on the top of the capsule, opening it up, revealing Sonic, who is clinging to a piece of metal. Thinking fast, Sonic slams the metal down upon the floor, jumps on it, and slides his way out of the hangar, all the while Mechasonic not missing a beat and giving chase. But Sonic thinks he's had some distance and mocks Mechasonic, sticking out his tongue and making a bit of a rude gesture, saying, "Hehehe, sayonara, sucker." But as Sonic continues to mock Mechasonic, he doesn't notice the E100 series robot making its way out of a nearby doorway. Sonic ends up swerving and crashing his metallic board into a wall, sending Sonic flying. Sonic hits the ground, and he looks up at the dilapidated E100 series looming over him. But then, suddenly Tails, who says, "Hey Sonic." Sonic, confused, says, "Tails?" But Sonic stands up and gets on guard, saying, "Watch out, buddy, we're surrounded." But Tails simply tells Sonic, "No, wait, Sonic, they're friendly." Sonic turns to Tails in confusion. "Excuse me?" And as Tails pets the mishmash badniks, he says, "It's true. The Scrapniks helped me drag you out inside after we crashed and built that foot brace for you." Sonic questions, "Scrapniks?" Tails says with a smile, "Yeah, that's what they call themselves." The E100 series bows to Sonic, saying, "Greetings, Sonic the Hedgehog. I am E117 Sigma. You were placed under observation due to the ankle injury you sustained. Having no knowledge of your situation resulted in an elevation of your stress levels, I surmise. Our intention was not to frighten you. Your forgiveness is requested." Sonic, still a little bit cautious, says, no problem." Sigma then gestures for Sonic, Tails, and the Scrapniks to follow him down the corridor, as Tails sets Sonic on top of one of the Motobug Scrapniks. As Sigma says, "We shall go to the surface. I believe the storm should be over by now." And as Sigma marches forward, he states, "Your forgiveness is requested for the crashing of your airplane." As Sonic and Tails look to each other in confusion. They're like, how did you crash their plane? Sigma states, "The storm was our error. You see, it was caused by the station's malfunctioning climate disruptor." Climate disruptor? I don't remember Did the Death Egg have a climate disruptor? Sigma says, "I have yet to be able to fully repair it, and every attempt to permanently decommission it has ended in failure. Until your plane is mended, you shall make our home your own." And as Sigma leads Sonic and Tails into the light, Sonic and Tails are shocked, as Sigma says, "Welcome, gentlemen, to Scrapnik Island," as Sigma gestures to the rest of Scrapnik Island, which seems like the half of the Death Egg that was broken off, the one where the eye would have been, it seems to have fallen off, landed on the other end of the island, and it seems like the Scrapniks just made it another half of their community or whatever. And Sonic looks over and notices Tails just ready to burst with excitement, as Sonic just says, "Tails geek out in 3, 2, 1, and Tails just points over into the rest of Scrapnik Island, says, "A whole civilization made from recycled machines and spare parts? This is incredible!" And Sonic simply says, "Called it." Sigma leads the skipping Tails down into the island, saying, "Your level of enthusiasm is unexpected. I request you allow me to show you around." Yeah, I gotta say, I'm surprised to see an E100 series robot. A lot of them ended up off the table because of the fact that a good chunk of them were used back in the Archie comics, and Ian's been hesitant to use anything that was in the Archie comics for several reasons, but well, since it's Barnes who never worked on the Archie comics, it's like, well, this is my own idea. So that's pretty good way to go. And as Sonic chuckles at the enthusiasm Tails is showing, he then notices Mecha Sonic staring at him. Sonic gives Mecha Sonic a distrustful glance as he follows behind Sigma and Tails. And as Mecha Sonic watches Sonic, something short circuits in him. His yellow eye now glows red. But then Mecha Sonic grabs onto his head, his eye now yellow again. He looks down at his hand and clenches his fist, following behind Sonic. So he's trying to resist his programming to face down Sonic. Fascinating. But they don't notice in the background none other than Mecha Knuckles from Sonic Advance, right? Yeah, this is the Mecha Knuckles you faced in Sonic Advance, isn't it? Complete with Knuckles' cowboy hat. Man, the reference in this is really taking me off guard. And seriously, Jack Lawrence's artwork during this issue, friggin' fantastic. But Natalie Fordrain's colors, they just make certain situations really pop. This is one of those situations where the artwork and the colors are working so well in tandem with each other that it just really sets a mood. Like the foreboding atmosphere, the display of the shadows, how the colors would light up, how you can know the moods of certain characters based on how the colors are, the creepy nature of all the Scrapniks and stuff like that. The ominous look Mecha Sonic had about him because, doesn't speak, so it's just like, okay, you friend? What's going on here? But I was kind of clued in when Mecha Sonic didn't attack. There was no point where Sonic was just outright attacked. They just ominously would stalk towards him, and it's just like, okay, I feel like I know where this is going, but it's just like, it could be something else. I also couldn't remember if this was a miniseries or just a brief one issue, but definitely a miniseries. And man, Mecha Knuckles, what? I was not expecting that. God, I remember fighting this thing. A lot easier to beat than Mecha Sonic, honestly. And there he is, Daniel Barnes doing that Sonic pose. I remember when he did this and posted it on his Twitter. It was so good. Friggin' Mad Lad made it. But again, this storyline just really is captivating me. I'm interested to see where it goes, too. Because the one thing about the 4-issue structure they've been having going on, and it's unfortunately very reminiscent of the Sonic Universe storylines, which wouldn't sound like such a bad thing, but sometimes it's either the second or the third issue that it feels like we spin our wheels just a little too much. But Daniel Barnes, I haven't seen him write an entire miniseries all on his own, so I can't really say whether or not he's going to do a good or bad job or not. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm riding high off the excitement of this first issue, but I've noticed when it comes to a lot of these Sonic stories, it's like that second issue is just like, okay, where are we really going? Third issue feels like, you could have just combined the second and third issue at the rate you're going. And the fourth issue always just delivers some great stuff. So, take what you get. And thankfully, unlike Imposter Syndrome, it doesn't seem like Scrapnik Island has kind of booted the main book over into being like every other month, which was the one thing I didn't care for when it came to the whole Imposter Syndrome thing. Like, I love the idea of like, 2 Sonic books every month? Yes, please! That's what made the whole situation with Sonic and Sonic Universe so cool. And then you get other spin-offs like an annual and this and that. And when they stopped getting that was a bit of a bummer. But we've essentially carried that whole setup over now. But one thing I will also say is that sometimes it can be kind of hit or miss with that kind of situation. Because in certain situations, back there in the Archie days, you'd have the main storyline be good, and then the universe storyline be or you'd have the universe storyline be great, and then the main storyline's like, So, I hope that bit of give and take isn't carried over as well. So my apprehension just comes from the fact that it's just like, I hope this doesn't work out how it did in Archie. And I also gotta say, just because issue 50 it was good, but the lead up to it in the main book, and even Imposter Syndrome, while I really liked Imposter Syndrome, it just, something felt kind of lacking in it to a certain degree. But it's the aftermath of issue 50 that's like really hitting for me. So I'm like, I'm kind of wishy-washy about all this, but I'm interested to hear from you. What do you think about Scrapnik Island for so far? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you a little bit indifferent? Do you need a little bit more time with maybe another issue to really tell how you feel about it? Let me know in the comments below. But Daniel Barnes and the whole team behind this have really given a lot of goodwill. It helps that you have an amazing team because Daniel Barnes is hilarious. Natalie Fordrain has amazing colors and really knows how to set a mood, especially with Jack Lawrence. Dude is nailing it. If you can keep up this momentum for the entire miniseries, this might be one of the best. But the miniseries have always been pretty dang good. So again, thoughts. Also remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications for this video. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.